Hello, magical people. Welcome to another episode of Astro Deep Dive here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. My name is Meg Moonbeam, and I'm very happy to be here with my astrology soul sister, Astrid Dumoulin. Hello, Astrid. How are you doing?
Hi, Meg. Hi, everybody. Very happy and grateful to be here again with all of you guys. And I'm looking really forward to dive deep into today's topics because it's going to be an exciting time this month. So,
Yes.
Meg, how are you?
I am good. I'm just noticing you've always got way more of a tan than me in this poster, and also right now in real life. I don't know, I got half British blood, so I'm always a little bit pale over here, and you got a beautiful Belgian tan. We've been having some nice weather over here in Belgium, haven't we?
Finally, yes, please.
Finally, yeah. So for those of you who maybe didn't see our first Astro Deep Dive episode, you guys got to go check that out, because 2 months ago, I can't believe it was 2 months ago already, Astrid, we did I've done some Astro Deep Dives before that, but it was our first one together. And we did some accurate predictions, as we're going to get into. But before we dive deep into the astrology, just want to mention, as usual, you guys, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channels. And also, if you'd like to get a personal astrology reading with me, those are available at consultations.beyondmystic.net. And if you'd like to have a reading with the amazing, magical, incomparable Astrid, you can go check out Astrid she's not only an astrologer, she's also a very gifted photographer, badass photographer. So Astrid, is your number one social media Instagram at the moment?
Yes, mostly yes.
So you can give Astrid a follow on Instagram, and also she's got her link tree, what's it called? URL that's there, and you can book a reading with Astrid through there. You can check out her website. All of her links are there. So Astrid, thank you so much for joining me again. And also want to mention as well, you guys, I just hosted this Astrology of Abundance live workshop this past Sunday on the Beyond Mystic Academy. It was over 4.5 hours long, and I shared some of the most important upcoming financial transits for the collective for this year going into 2025, and also did abundance readings for each of the 12 signs. So the link should be in the description box of this video if you'd like to check that out. We've got Yenzi here in the chat, says, hi from the garden. So he's just outside from where we are right now. So yeah, absolutely crazy times, Astrid. And so interesting, doesn't surprise me because the astrology doesn't lie. But as you know, our last Astro Deep Dive that we did was on June 17th, which feels like it was just yesterday, but that's like almost 2 months ago. And we predicted some things that actually happened. Do you want to talk a little bit about what came up in that video?
Yeah, well, firstly, you mentioned the Uranus-Algol conjunction, and with some people losing their heads. So that almost happened exactly with Trump. So I think that was a very wild prediction that came forward. Then we also talked about the electricity, the internet doing weird stuff around those dates. And we had the big blackout from the internet, and all the all the airplanes that came to a halt. So I think that was very crazy as well. And then there was another one, but I'm forgetting one.
You know what? I knew there was another one too, and I was trying to think of what it was. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you said something about migrants, something coming up with migrants. And we've had, I mean, there's things going on all over the world, but in the UK, major issues with the migrant protests and all. I think you said it in that video. Am I wrong? Or am I right?
I think it was the Astrology of Europe one.
Oh, the Astrology of Europe one. Okay, that's a different one.
Like, your other wild prediction just came to mind as well. And it's like you said that Joe Biden was going to drop out on the second full Capricorn moon. So that happened as well. I was like, whoa. I was actually surprised by our own things and predictions that they were like on the exact date they just came out. And I was like surprised myself. So
Yeah, it's so funny with the astrology. Sometimes you know how to read it. It's like a language that Astrid and I know how to read. And sometimes you're reading it and you're like, can it really be that easy? Is he really going to drop out on the full moon in Capricorn? Because once you learn astrology, it's like second nature and it's very easy to read. Does that make sense how I'm saying
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, makes sense. So I'm so happy to be with you here again. And we're here to talk about Astrology of Summer Part 2. And if you haven't gone and checked out our Part 1 that we did on June 17th, that's on the Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channels, where we talked about June, we talked about July, but today we're going to be talking about August and September, so the rest of summer 2024. So before we get into the key dates and some of the different topics in particular that we're going to bring up, how do you feel, Astrid, about where we are right now, the rest of astrology of summer 2024? What are your like general astrological and intuitive feelings that you're having about it?
Well, I think we can all agree upon the fact that it's been really, really wild the last couple of weeks, and there's been a super intense energy building up currently. And I think a lot of people really feel the build up. And like this month, to me, August is just like going to be another shock or surprise to the system we are currently in. And I think if we look at the astrology for this month, a big buildup is happening, and the big release is going to come out on the 19th of August. And we're going to dive deeper into this because the 19th is going to be a very, very special date, I think. So I think a lot of surprises are in store for the month of August.
Yeah, like we haven't been having enough surprises already. But yeah, that's going to be super interesting. So we're going to talk about some of the most important key transits coming up for the rest of summer 2024. And we're going to start with bringing up a couple slides of the main astrology key dates for August and September. Her Miller 13 says, normies are feeling it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have been noticing that in my personal life. Normies really feeling it. Some of them getting really triggered. We've been talking about that here on Beyond Mystic lately, Astrid. Have you actually, before we get into the slide, have you been noticing that in your personal life? Like the normies around you, how are they acting? How are they reacting with you at the moment?
Well, there's actually no denying it anymore. Eh? They just like they're hitting this kind of wall, and it's really making them conscious about everything that's going on at this moment. And then I try to like calm them a little bit, but also like prepare them for the month ahead, because with the full moon in Aquarius, what is actually, it means surprises. It's like there's more to come. So I try to like keep them calm and be like, yes, with the Mercury right now, things are not going as smoothly as normally, but just wait until August passes before you make any decisions or conclusions, and just try to stay open-minded to what's still left to come this month. So
Yeah, that's definitely some very good advice. Thank you for that. So I'll share the first slide for August, and then Astrid, if you would like to share the second slide, you can for September. So as we're in August, we're now August 9th. We just had this past August 4th, Venus ingress into Virgo. And then on August 5th, Mercury retrograde in Virgo, started at Virgo 4 degrees and is going to go all the way until Leo 21 degrees until August 28th. And then on August 15th, Mercury retrograde re-enters the sign of Leo. So it's interesting. We're having a Mercury retrograde in two signs, not just one. And then August 19th, I think this is going to be the biggest date out of anything we're talking about for August for sure. Full moon in Aquarius, buck wild full moon in Aquarius, that we're going to share the chart with you guys when we get to that topic. And on the same day as full moon in Aquarius, Jupiter square Saturn exact. Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn in Pisces. And that's something that we're going to be having. Is it until October 2025, Astrid, that Jupiter square Saturn?
I have it exactly in my notes, but I think it's going to be for the next 9-10 months.
Yeah.
Three hard squares that are going to apply over the next 10 months. So we're going to feel it 3 times in the next year, these energies.
Yeah, thank you. So that's interesting because it's not just one. It's like Astrid said, it's like 3 upcoming Jupiter square Saturns, and we're under that influence of that square for a while. So we'll talk about that. Then August 22nd, Sun enters Virgo. Happy birthday to all the Virgos out there coming up. August 28th, yay, Mercury direct in Leo, 21 degrees. But guess what? It's still a retrograde city because just a few days later, as Astrid is going to say, Uranus goes retrograde. So for both months, August and September, for the most part, there will be 5 planets retrograde at the same time, including asteroid Chiron. And then August 29th, Venus enters Libra, which is nice because that's one of Venus's home signs.
Okay, so for September 1st, Uranus is going to go retrograde and Pluto is going to go back to Capricorn on the same day. So that is going to be a very, very interesting day to keep in your agenda. Then September 2nd, new moon in Virgo, 11 degrees. September 4th, Mars enters Cancer, and it's in his fall sign, so it doesn't like to be there. So that's people who have Mars in Cancer will definitely have way more impact with this transit than other Mars signs. Then September 9th, Mercury enters Virgo. After the retrograde period, it's going to go back to its home sign. So it actually likes to be there. So that's a very positive transit, the 9th. Then September 17th, we have a lunar eclipse, full moon in Pisces, 25 degrees. And September 22nd, Sun enters Libra, and then we have the autumn equinox. So,
thank you. Yeah, and it's so interesting that Uranus retrograde on the same day as Pluto going back into Capricorn. I feel like that's going to be a really weird day too. In my personal opinion, I think weirdest day of August is going to be August 19th. And then even though we have an eclipse in September, I mean, that's going to be an absolutely crazy energetic day. September 1st is also going to be a very weird day as well, with that Uranus retrograde and Pluto back in Capricorn. And I also want to mention, before I forget, that our next Astro deep dive together with Astrid and I, we're going to talk about in-depth Pluto going back into Capricorn, which, yes, starts in this last part of summer 2024, but that deserves its own whole show. So you guys will see we won't be talking too in-depth about Pluto going back into Capricorn. For the last time in our lives, we will do that in September in that Astro deep dive episode. JBF Beauty Club says, yikes, my birthday is September 1st.
oh, shit.
Oh my God. Well, that's going to be a crazy ass birthday year ahead. What do you think of that, Astrid?
Yeah, he definitely needs to look at this solar return for that year, because it all depends on what aspects it makes in your own personal chart. But either way, it's going to have a very intense energy that you're going to get for the year ahead. So we should look at your solar return just to be sure.
Yeah, we need to take a look. It's funny because I was actually talking to someone today that had some kind of funky transits going on that were really powerful. And I said to them, we can pretend that they're not happening, or we can embrace that you've actually got some really powerful transits that are kind of conducers, if you will, of change and transformation. So JBF Beauty Club, we don't want to freak you out, but just be open to releasing things that no longer serve you this birthday year, being open to change and riding the wave of the very interesting solar return that you're going to have in your year ahead. So let's talk about retrograde city, this term that us astrologers like to use when we've got a bunch of planets retrograde at the same time. So in August, as we're filming this right now, on Friday, August 9th, it's Mercury, Chiron, Granddaddy Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto, 5 heavenly bodies, 4 planets and 1 asteroid, all retrograde together. And then, as I said before, in September, it will be Uranus with Pluto, Neptune, Chiron, Saturn, all retrograde. So, Astrid, how do you feel when we've got a whole bunch of planets retrograde together? Do you notice it? Do you not notice it? How do you feel when we have that?
Well, I think if you're conscious about it, you really notice it in your life because
Yeah.
it could feel like you're hitting a wall or you're just like pushing against the tide and you want all these things to fall into place or start flowing. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try to like start something new, you just feel these blockages around you. And it's really more a time to like go inwards and like revisit old projects instead of starting new ones,
Hmm.
because it's like really facing your head towards your unfinished business and like finish some projects that you like lost your eye on, or I don't know how to translate, right? But
Yeah, that makes
it's like
sense.
it's like really revisiting the past, turning inwards, and like look where you can adjust things before moving forward. And I know this time period is not the most fun because we all want new things to flourish, and we all want to have like all these new projects blooming and booming. But it's very important and necessary in the process that we like look back and see where we can adjust or change certain
Mm,
tactics, so in the long run they're just going to be more fruitful.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's so true. You took the words out of my mouth for sure. And I love what you said at the beginning of the show. It's a time to, when we've got retrograde, not force things, right? This is not a time to force things because it can just be harder and then we might have to do things over again. It's really a time to take a step back. And like you were saying, Astrid, look back at the past, review and revisit whatever areas of life you have those planets retrograde. If you bring up your birth chart, and just be open to whatever is going to come up, because I find when there's a retrograde city, things do not go as planned. Ever since Mercury went retrograde on August 4th, 5th, depending on where you are in the world, I don't know about you guys, but my whole schedule had to be rechanged. Things are not going as planned. So it's very much about surrendering to the current energies and seeing what shows up, because there can be some areas of life where we think, oh, I've completed that relationship, or oh, I've completed that behavioral pattern. But then during a retrograde city, it can really come up right in our face. No, you're not over that, and there's still something to finish up from that pattern or that situation in life, for sure. So I think it's not a normal retrograde city because it's that Pluto right at critical degrees of Aquarius and also going to be going into Capricorn for the last time. So I think Pluto is really critical in this retrograde city, which is the planet of release and authenticity and our shadow side. So I've been noticing it with myself and clients and friends I've been working with. There's a lot of really intense shadow aspects coming up at this. It's a really intense retrograde city that I put that picture, the Twilight Zone, here on this poster, because it can feel like do 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 do, kind of creepy. Some of the stuff that's coming up from our own shadow that other people may be projecting and bringing up. I've definitely been noticing for myself and other people close to me very interesting projections being shared by other people onto us that are more awake, conscious people, if you will. So I think part of this retrograde city too is it's kind of like waking people up out of the twilight zone. I've been noticing that, even though it's not the best time to start a new business, not the best time to move fully forward ahead, it's review and reflection. I'm noticing a lot of people waking up at this time. Would you say that resonates with you, Astrid?
yeah, a lot. And I think it has to do with the Jupiter Saturn square
Yeah.
because Jupiter is our beliefs and ideals, Saturn are our limitations and boundaries. It's like a total new restructure of our foundation and belief system. So I'm going to dive deeper into it later in this video, but I think that is like the biggest reason why people are now really like getting a reality slap and seeing the harsh realities of actually the past 4 years, because it's
Mhm.
connected to 4 years ago, this cycle. So it's really interesting to see how people are like opening up their eyes right now, because there's like no way around it anymore.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Very, very well said. So let's bring up, this is our chart for today, for the moment that we started today's Astro Deep Dive at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on August 9th. And let's talk a little bit about this Mercury retrograde in particular, because yes, it's a retrograde city. We've got, 3 of the outer planets retrograde and an asteroid retrograde, which we do feel very much in the collective, very strong. We feel planets' influence stronger when they're retrograde because they're closer to the Earth. But when an inner planet like Mercury is retrograde, we can really feel it in our day-to-day life, very, very strong. So it's very empowering to know where you have this Mercury retrograde working with you in your personal chart. So you can see in your personal astrology chart where you have 4 degrees of Virgo, because the retrograde started at 4 degrees of Virgo, to 21 degrees of Leo, what house you have, those placements, if you have any planets between 4 degrees of Virgo to 21 degrees of Leo, those placements, degrees around there, because that's an area of life that it's really in alignment to be doing some reflection, some review, some cleaning out. Virgo has to do with cleaning and purification. So while Mercury is retrograde in Virgo until August 14th, this is very much about cleaning, purging, reflecting, reorganizing what area of life we have, that Virgo. And then when Mercury retrogrades in Leo, it's in alignment to review and reflect on our sense of, and I've been feeling this so strong in some of my videos I've been doing this week, Astrid, our sense of fun and play and creativity and our inner child, which is something, in the current astrology, we have none of the outer planets in a fire sign, right? We got the North Node in a fire sign, we got Chiron in a fire sign, but none of the big planets are in a fire sign. And we haven't had that since Jupiter was in Aries. What was that? Was that 2022? 2020, I think 2022. If I remember.
think so.
Yeah, something around that. But even then, that's Jupiter, which is one of the more inner, outer planetary placements. It's not Pluto, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. None of those guys have been in a fire sign for a while. So that's why things in the collective hasn't really felt that fun, right? So I'm really feeling this Mercury retrograde in Leo. It's like inviting us to review what happened to our sense of fun, our sense of play, our sense of creativity and just silliness, and how can we bring that more into our lives, right? Is that something, Astrid, that you would say resonates with you?
Yes, a lot. And I think the fire signs really, really notice it because we try to, like, I'm an Aries, I'm a fire sign. And whenever we try to keep it light and fun, and it doesn't always get very well received lately. I think we all need some fire. And yes, this Mercury retrograde is really special because Mercury is actually in its home sign, so it likes to be there. So I think that will take the edge off a little bit. But I want to share something personal because I have Mercury retrograde in my 12th house, and I posted some letters into the mailbox and I stamped it wrong. I forgot to write on the return address. And I was like, how is this even possible? And so just to share with you, because we are astrologers and we know what's coming and we know what's going on, we also have to deal with the mercurial issues of life. So, and I think when Mercury, people who are born with Mercury in Virgo, they're actually very highly intellectual, very smart. They possess an ability to see and feel how the world is like put together. And normally when Mercury goes through Virgo, we all get to partake a little bit in this energy. But now, because it's going retrograde, we all have to do with this weird things like not seeing how it goes right now, having to wait a little bit until things clear out. And I think very specific when it goes back into Leo, we will all need to keep in mind to have to work on communication with the partner, because Leo also rules romance, it rules children as well. So be very mindful to communicate very clearly with your partner and your children to avoid miscommunication. I think that will be the biggest one for the Leo as well.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I love what you said there about, as an Aries, you're trying to bring that fun out. You are a fire sign, and sometimes people can get triggered by that. And I've been feeling this message so strong in some of my daily Astro videos I've been doing this week. I keep saying, you know, we need not just the Leos, but all of us to be in that Leo energy of fun, lightness, play, not taking things so seriously, or else I hate to sound like an intense Scorpio. We're all going to die of depression. We're going to drop down and die. I mean, we can't not have fun and lightness and creativity and enjoyment. So it feels like a really important theme at this time. And I love what you said there about clear communication with partners and with children as well. So I think most of our soul family out there that have heard of a Mercury retrograde before know that this is where, you know, Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, and it deals with a lot of things that have to do with our day-to-day life. So this is why when Mercury is retrograde, we can really feel it a lot more compared to when some of the other planets are retrograde in comparison. So this is where we can have miscommunications, because Mercury rules communication. We can have technical difficulties because Mercury rules gadgets and can have to do with technology and social media. Be careful what you share on social media. Be careful how you're communicating. Not the best time to be signing important documents or making big life decisions. Now, life comes in the way. Life happens, right? And sometimes we do have to sign important documents, or we do have to get something fun. What I feel personally, and let me know what you think, Astrid, if we've been working on something before a retrograde, I feel like it's okay to work on it through the retrograde. But if we got a Mercury retrograde and you got this whole new idea has come up, wait on it. Wait on putting a lot of energy into it until Mercury goes direct.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, that makes sense because when Mercury is retrograde, it's actually closest to the Earth.
Yeah.
And then it's very simple. We have way too much Mercury. So that's why all these issues occur during that time. So it's very normal to do the mercurial tasks once, twice, or 4 times before you get them right. So I try to be mindful to like, the really big important decisions, I try to think about it, but only try to make my conclusion if it's very big and important only after when Mercury leaves its shadow phase. And it's actually a little bit longer. I think it's until 11 September. Then it really gets out of the shadow phase. So then it's like a good time to put all your ideas, if you still think they're good by then, because mostly you need to make some changes. But if it's good, then you can fully charge ahead around that time.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, we're in a retrograde city. We're in a Mercury retrograde until August 28th. And then let's talk about this crazy day that we've been really feeling, August 19th. Okay, this crazy ass full moon, 27 degrees of Aquarius. This is JBF Beauty Club says, super advice, Astrid. Thank you for that, JBF Beauty Club. This is a slide that I made. I'm going to talk about some of the things I'm feeling with this full moon, and then I'm going to ask you, Astrid, if there's anything that you want to add on to that. So, and then we'll show the chart as well. This is I'm going to say 10 out of 10 on the astrological Richter scale, maybe an 11 out of 10, a very intense energy, very intense and challenging, tense full moon in the sign of Aquarius, which rules. Aquarius is cryptocurrency, technology, innovation, among other things. But those things I was really intuitively feeling very strong. The stock market could go down due to major shocking events, possible fake alien invasion. I know that may sound crazy, you guys, but you wait. This full moon in Aquarius is going to be crazy. ET or UFO footage, all of the above, very unstable world events or information being revealed, likely in the USA or Europe, that affects financial markets. I was kind of looking at the transit charts of USA and Europe, and they were, well, the USA has its moon exactly conjunct this full moon at 27 degrees of Aquarius, which also kind of made me feel like, is that going to be the release of a woman, right? The moon can deal with women. Is that going to be possibly Kamala Harris maybe stepping away, or a shocking event having to do with her? Don't know if you've heard of this, Astrid, but and let us know in the live chat if I'm wrong about this, but some people have been putting in the live chat that the Democratic National Convention, so in the USA, they have something called the Democratic National Convention, which is when the liberals do their, we approve Kamala Harris. You've heard about that, right? That's
Yeah.
happening with this full moon.
On the exact day, right? Isn't that crazy? And on the same day, we have a Mercury Cazimi with the sun. So then we have the full moon. We have the exact Jupiter Saturn square, all on the same day, on the day of the convention. So it's like that's gonna be full of surprises. So
this is going to be, Her Miller 13 says 19th to 23rd. I'm not totally sure. I know it's like a few days or 4 days.
22, I think.
Yeah. So this is the first day. So that is going to be, Aquarius is weirdness, right? And Aquarius is unpredictability. I always say that because I feel like not all the astrologers mention that when they talk about Aquarius. Like, it's unpredictability. It's hard to predict with it. It's things that we were totally not expecting, right? So something weird is going to go down at that Democratic National Convention for sure. Also going back to the crypto, I mean, I'm surprised we had that crypto crash and that financial crash already. Astrid and I were talking about this past week because I thought it might happen closer to the full moon in Aquarius. There's a huge potential with this full moon for crypto crash or cryptocurrency related drama or shocking event. Also, big potential for major power IT outages. And we'll show in the chart why this is so crazy. Possible exposing of a cryptocurrency coin, exchange, or developer. Be very mindful of your crypto investments around that time and be prepared for possible temporary outages. Okay, so some of you who are into the astrology like Astrid and I might be going, why are you saying that this is going to be so intense? Oops, this is the chart for August 9th. Okay, here's the one for the full moon. So Astrid's right. We've got a Mercury Cazimi on that day with Mercury retrograde. So information possibly coming out from the past, something from the past regarding leaders. Leo can have to do with leaders or politicians, famous people. Exact T-square between the sun and the moon and Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius. So whenever we're looking at the chart of a new moon or a full moon, it's very important to look at what we call the dispositor of the moon. Okay, so the dispositor is whatever planet is the ruling planet of the sign that the full moon is in. So the dispositor of Aquarius is Uranus in an exact T-square, very tense aspect at this full moon. So this is not a light, fluffy full moon. I'm just going to say some shit's going to go down with this. And it's either going to have to do with leaders in a shocking event, possible explosions or bombs. Okay, Uranus deals with explosions and bombs and electricity and power outages, shocking events, technology, right? We've also got a T-square between Venus, it's not exact, but Venus and Saturn in opposition, and in T-square to the Mars-Jupiter conjunction. So this is a lot of tense energy in this chart with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, full moon in Aquarius, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, 0 degrees, critical degrees. So this just feels kind of like, to be honest with you guys, it kind of freaks me out looking at this because Aquarius is a wild card and you never know what to expect with that. What do you think, Astrid, of like, are you getting any intuitive feelings around the Democratic National Convention, something that might come up with that, or just with this full moon? What's coming up for you when you look at that chart?
Well, firstly, a few days before this full moon, Mercury is going to switch back to Leo, and then it's going to like get combust to the sun, and it means it's going to close into the sun. So Mercury is going to get burned up by the sun's rays. So that's always very chaotic energy. And that will last a few days. But then on the 19th, we have the Cazimi, and that are greater moments of clarity and revelation and sudden resolutions because of the square to Uranus. So expect something very unexpected to come up during those days. And yes, on a world stage, it's going to be hit by a lot of US politics. The charts are very, very exact. And like if we go over some of them, we see actually that the US moon, I think you mentioned it already, has
Yeah.
a 27-degree Aquarius moon.
Yep.
So that's gonna hit it directly. Then Biden has a 27-degree Scorpio sun. That is like gonna square exactly this moon to his sun. Then we have Kamala. She has a 28 degrees Saturn, so it's going to hit her directly. And then Trump has a Mars 26 degrees of Leo, so it's like going to oppose him. And then we have something weird going on with Barack Obama as well, because his nodes are 27 degrees. And the last new moon in Leo was on the 4th of August, was actually important for Obama as well, because he has it was his birthday. So the new moon in Leo was on his birthday. So it was, he takes this energy in his solar return. And actually when you have this, you get more visibility the year ahead. So I think that's something very special coming up around these days as well. So I wonder, this full moon will impact his south node, and that are things that coming back from the past. So I wonder how how it will play out with all of them together, because it's so special to have all these US politics having such a to the exact degree placements. Everyone is getting like directly hit. So I think Meg can talk more about that because it's more her domain, the US elections. But to me, it was like very, very special to see that all these important people are getting like direct hits on all very personal placements in their chart.
Yeah, that was a lot of good information. Thank you for that, Astrid. And DigiBean16 says, must get more popcorn. I love that. We actually, sorry, I'm going ADD for a second, you guys, but Jens and I went to the movie theater last week and we saw the new movie Twisters, which is, have you heard about that, Astrid?
No.
It's all about tornado hunters. And we were like, okay, this is going to be cool. I'm a Scorpio. I got my Mars trine Pluto. I like intense movies, twisters, tornadoes. And we were wondering, is this going to be woke? Or because a lot of movies these days are woke and you can't even enjoy it. It was actually really, really good. So go check out that Twisters movie, just a movie without the woke shit in it. But why I'm bringing up movies, and I love your comment, DigiBean16, is because we've got that Neptune retrograde, 29 degrees Pisces. This is all a movie, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's true.
We are watching a movie. So remember, when this day comes, what I feel, and this is crazy, that this is exactly conjunct the moon of the USA. The moon of the USA is 27 degrees Aquarius. As you said, conjunct Kamala's Saturn. It's square to Biden's sun. It's also in Canada, which is not the USA, but Canada and USA have a connection that isn't totally being talked about, which I want to talk more about. Maybe I'll have to do a video on that. Justin Trudeau's midheaven will be in an exact square to this full moon. So there's a lot of politicians, and it's interesting because that Kazemi is happening in Leo, which can deal with politicians, leaders. Something's going to go down. And I mean, it's hard to say because Kamala does have positive aspects on this day with the full moon, but at the same time, she's got, what was it, Astrid? She's got the full moon trine her sun, and it's trine her rising. And what was the other thing?
Well, Kamala is born under a full moon. So actually, her natal moon is the exact same degree. It's 27 degrees Aries. So this full moon will make a sextile to her natal moon, which is actually, in my eyes, positive. But it's on Saturn, but Saturn on the MC can also mean like being gifted a position of power. And if I like look at the agenda, like it just fits the agenda perfectly. Like this woman being the first president, like to me, it's just like it fits the puzzle. So I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised, but
Yeah. I kind of feel like one of the well, there's going to be something shocking that they're going to try to do. But one of the shocks, what I'm getting intuitively, is that it's interesting. Intuitively, Spirit is showing me, when you see footage of a communist country or like North Korea, and they're being forced to like, yay, clap for Kim Jong-un, and it's like really disturbing and fucked up. I feel like we're going to see that with this Democratic National Convention, like people totally just being like, yay, and acting like Kamala's the savior. And I'm not left or right. I don't like to lean any particular way, but that'll be very strange to watch given her track record. That'll be disturbing to watch. Do you want to say something to that, Astrid?
yeah, something just popped in my head while you were saying that, because you were saying like being forced to clap, and like
Right.
I saw something that she was doing a speech or something like that, and there was like a big television screen hanging nearby with people applauding like this. And when you looked closer to the screen, you saw the same people 3-4 times on the same screen, but you had to like really zoom into it and like really look at it. Otherwise, if you wouldn't see it. And I was like really surprised, and I was like, who are these people clapping for her right now? It's like so strange. And that is like this Neptune 29 degrees. Like, if you don't look closely and zoom in through the fog, you would have never noticed that the same lady is clapping 4 times on the screen. And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's wild. JBF Beauty Club says, good catch, Astrid. I think they meant to type good catch, Astrid. Yeah, and it's also making me think about like when I feel it out and look at the astrology, I feel like either they're maybe going to fake an assassination on Kamala Harris to make people feel bad for her and not like, and put the right wingers in a bad space, or I'm going to use a term that Alex Jones has been using a lot lately, which is they're going for broke. Okay. Meaning they've got no other option. They've tried everything they were going to do. So they're just going to have Kamala Harris. They're going to keep her as the nominee and try their best to make this look like this is the savior. So I feel like it's going to be very uncomfortable to look at. It's going to be very obviously fake and like a movie. And they may try to get a lot of different celebrities and things, but I just feel like with that Pluto at a critical degree, and also with that full moon being conjunct her Saturn, these are planets that rule karma, and these are the malefics, and that you can't escape that energy forever. So I think something very intense is going to happen for sure for that.
Yeah.
But sorry, did you want to say something?
Sorry to interrupt, but like Aquarius is, it also has to do with like, it's very deeply rooted in community and wanting to help each other and like big groups of people. And what I feel with this full moon that's going to come up is something regarding humanitarian help. I think with all the things going on in the Middle East and Sudan, for example, like something regarding humanitarian aid can come up or will be maybe necessary to look closer to.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go to that Sudan chart in just a second. Yeah, something else I'm feeling too is because there's that exact T-square to Uranus, which is the ruler of technology. If the bad guys are trying to do some AI or CGI with the Democratic National Convention, maybe it won't work the way they want it to, and it'll be live and it'll expose something that they've been doing, right? Because with that exact T-squared to Saturn, Uranus, this is not good for technology. So this is for each of us in our personal lives, being prepared for possible power outages, having extra food, water, batteries. I would not go into big crowds of any kind because there could be possible explosions, very unstable events. I'm not trying to freak you guys out, but just saying that's a day where you're going to want to chill out for sure, right? So Astrid, what you were just talking about, does that have to do with these maps that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, when you see like, well, I actually wanted to like make a little addition to the T-square that we're seeing. Like the T-square is happening in mutable signs. So it's like a bigger injection of dynamism being brought to the forefront. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about synodic cycles, because every time two planets get conjunct, they start a new cycle. And first we have the conjunction, and we have the sextile, the square, the trine, the opposition, and back and forth. And it always goes like this. It's like the same. So, Meg, can you maybe just bring up the chart again from the moon?
This one? Oh, the chart.
Yeah. So if you see like Jupiter and Mars, they are like conjunct now. And or they are going to get conjunct by the 2021, I think. And normally a Jupiter-Mars conjunction is positive, because the Mars's action merges with Jupiter's optimism. But this time it's going to be exactly square Saturn and Pisces, and it's going to cause a lot of friction, a lot of feeling resistance, feeling like the brakes are on. And like this also has to do with like people having a lot of frustration, and Jupiter is just like expanding this right now. That's also linked to the UK riots right now, and I actually think there's going to be a lot more of protests coming around that time. And the 16th of August, that is actually a few days before, we have an exact Mars square Saturn. And it actually, when the first conjunction happened this year, that was in April. So when Mars and Saturn came together, it was in April, and that's when we saw a lot of attacks from Israel and Iran. So now that Jupiter is on this Mars, like exploding the frustration even more. So I think like a lot of high tension, a lot more violence is coming during that time. And it's going to be linked to the Middle East and Israel and Hezbollah. And that is also very noticeable on the map because it like, can you maybe show it, Meg, please?
Yeah, this one,
Yes, thank you. You can see that it's very, it goes over the Middle East, and where you see the Mars sign is like Sudan. And at this time, there's like a very big civil war happening there. So with these aspects forming so closely right now, I suspect it's going to get a lot worse. And maybe that is where the humanitarian aid is going to have to start kicking in, or like needs to be sent there. That's what I think. And I just feel like a lot of tension is rising right now, and it could very possibly be that they're gonna be sent a lot of bombs, like you said, Meg, around that time, because
that's the lower expression that I don't want to have to say, but as astrologers, we have to say the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And Uranus rules bombs. Aquarius rules bombs. And this is an exact T-square to Uranus. So something's going to go off somewhere, whether that's usually it is a bomb, technological bomb, or an explosion of some sort. Something's going to go off somewhere, right? That was great. Thank you for that, Astrid. And is that the same map here? This other map?
It's just a little bit zoomed in on how you can see how it is like exactly above Sudan. And it's like very, like the news is not really sharing about this, but it's like really getting out of hand. And I just wanted to mention it because it's so strongly impacting that place.
Yeah. A America says, sorry, are we still on August 19th? Kind of.
I'm talking more like from the 10th to the 20th, that time period, because like when aspects get exact, it's not necessarily the day that it's going to happen. Sometimes it already happens in the build-up towards the aspects getting together. But I don't know how you feel about that, Meg.
Yeah. I feel, it's like a build-up. And then there's the crescendo and then a little bit of the come down period. But it's interesting whenever we have these conjunctions. And it seems like we've been having so many conjunctions in recent astrology times, which are the strongest aspects, right? So really, really interesting. Do you want to speak on, Astrid, this Jupiter square Saturn that we're having, which is also exact on this full moon in Aquarius. Crazy.
Yeah. So Jupiter Saturn square. So in the next 10 months, we're going to have 3 exact squares, and they're like the hard aspects. So Jupiter Saturn cycles always speak to the fate of the rulers of our government, or like it speaks to dynasties, prophets, politics, the government, economics. It's like a very big restructuring of the foundation, and it's like being witnessed in history. It's like the hard aspects, like we are going to see now in the next 10 months, they are like pivotal key moments in the restructuring of our whole society. And if you look back on to the year 2020, we had the Saturn Jupiter conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius. And that is where Pluto is stationing retrograde soon. So now. So it's actually, Pluto is transforming what happened in 2020. So we all know what happened then. It was like the QR code, the paperwork, tests, COVID, the reset, and like there was this big new implementation of technology in societal structures. So I think right now it's like a little bit dormant. I don't know if that's correct, but I think this may return more into the now, or like it's going to come up again now with these hard aspects in the next month. Because like this year in May, the WHO negotiators, they like failed to draft the pandemic treaty. So what's very crazy about this is like we're going to have the first square now. Then we have one in December, the end of this year. And then the next one is in June. And if you see that like the new deadline for the pandemic treaty is happening or is set for May 25. So that's actually close by the last hard aspect that we're going to see from the two planets in this time period that's coming now. So yeah, it's not, I'm not going to say it's going to come true, but there's like a big possibility that they're going to like succeed during the hard aspects to like implement their new laws and like push everything through. And if you look at the universal basic income, they started talking about that in early 2020 as well. So I think that is something that's going to come up again. Then yeah, it's like dividing the power in the form of money to all people. So with Pluto on the same degree of the conjunction in 2020, I think that just like translates perfectly what they're trying to say here now. And I really think, yeah, digital currencies controlled by banks are gonna make a push. Try to make a push again with the squares. And yeah, they just want to know everything that you're doing and have control over everything. And that's going to translate into the Aquarius realm of, by internet knowing or registering like every step you're doing. And like before I dive deeper into the personal aspects of the Jupiter Saturn square, I first want to like go back to our previous cycle, because every synodic cycle of two planets, like especially the one with Saturn and Jupiter right now, it takes 20 years to complete. So if you look back, the last cycle that started was in the year of 2000. And the conjunction there happened in 22 degrees of Taurus. So Taurus is earth, money, resources. And in 2000, we actually had the dot-com crash, and we had like the internet bubble bursting from the 90s. Like I was only 5 years old. I don't know a lot about it, only by looking up certain stuff. But I think people who are older than me can like go back to that time period and remember what happened. And then actually when we had the trine between Saturn and Jupiter, that was in 2008. And then we had the financial crisis and the big crashes of the banks and everything. So even if they are like in good aspect to each other, it's still so now they're going to make like the hard aspect. So that's very, very, very pivotal, because like what also happened in the year of 2000 with the last cycle, we actually had the international law coming forward about carbon emissions. And like in 2001, a year later, George Bush took over from Bill Clinton. And then Bush said, like, I'm not going to implement the Kyoto Protocol. What is like, that was like a document being set to reduce greenhouse gases. So that was a little bit of a shock, because then that cycle was in square to Uranus, a little bit like this moon now, but on a way longer, but had a way longer impact. So people were a little bit shocked when he announced that. But then a few years later, in 2005 and 6, when the three hard aspects, the squares that we're going to see now, were happening back then, the Kyoto Protocol came into force. And I think force is a very good word to describe what's going to happen in the next 10 months as well. But in 2010, 5 years later, we had then the opposition between Saturn and Jupiter. And with the three oppositions, they had like a conference, a UN climate conference, and they tried to establish a new treaty about the carbon emissions. But opposition, there was too much opposition, so that failed. So I think that's very, very special that it translates so well to this special cycle, because in 2015, we actually had the three squares again, like we see now. And then that were actually the last hard aspects from that 20-year cycle. So now we have the first set. What I'm saying now is the last set. So then they had like the Paris Agreement. And in 2016, an agreement was reached and signed, and they had to reduce carbon before 2030. So we're now getting into the new Jupiter-Saturn cycle, and all these things keep coming back up and up. And right now they want to reduce to net zero before 2050. So what I think with these new hard aspects coming into play these next 10 months, I really feel like an individual carbon footprint tracker, having to pay for your having to pay taxes for your meat, for your airplane. Like they're really gonna like push this through, I think. So I don't know if you want to say something, or how do you feel about that, Meg?
Yeah, that was a lot. Thank you. So just going back to, what was the first thing that you were talking about? You were talking about how the WHO didn't get through the pandemic treaty, right?
Yeah.
Which a lot of us were really freaking happy about. I jumped up and down and I was like, yay, when that did not go through. So do you, I think I zoned out for a second. Did you say that you think that will pass through in May of 2025, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel they're really going to try now, because now we're in the cycle where the first three hard aspects are going to play out now in the coming year. Yeah. So they're going to really like to push and try. But I'm not going to say it's going to work, because if we look back when we had the opposition, which will take another few years to reach that stage of the cycle, in the previous cycle, they didn't succeed in it. But then later in the 20-year cycle, they did succeed. But first we had the opposition, and they couldn't push it through. But then in the last hard aspects they were making, it did came through. So I hope it doesn't work, and I hope when the opposition comes in a few years, it will be cancelled again. But then I really think in 20 years, in 15 years, when the new set of hard aspects is going to come up again, I really fear that they might succeed. But without being sure, I am sure that they're going to try to have us have a carbon footprint tracker and all that bullshit, and like having to pay taxes for meat and fake meat and all these insect things they're like gonna try to make us eat, and like that is already so full blown out there. And I think, yeah, we're gonna see a lot more of this drama in the next year with the squares going on.
Right. Yeah. CeeLo Joe says they can push as much as they want, but we will say here and no further. I think that's the beauty of the Pluto in Aquarius transit, that we will see dark side of technology. We will see dark side of Aquarian ruled things coming up. But at the end of the day, the people, I really feel, will say no. And these dark arts plans will fall apart. I don't see these lasting long term after the Pluto and Aquarius transit is complete, which is 20 years from now. So I think by the end of this Pluto and Aquarius transit, we will have gone through and this is just my personal interpretation, the push and pull between we the people and the globalists, right? And so many more people are waking up every day. People I meet at the hair salon, people I meet at the grocery store, people learning about the digital ID, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's important for us, though, to look at these astrological transits that maybe can show things that we don't necessarily want to hear. And that can go either way, right? And it's again, interesting with this Aquarian influence, unpredictability. So things are not going to go how, if anyone says this is exactly how something is going to go, that's a big red flag, right? And Astrid and I, as astrologers, we like to give you our interpretations, what we're feeling, but I really like to, and I'm sure Astrid feels the same, empower people that we don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. If anyone's pretending that they do, that's important to look at, right? As we go through these times. And Aquarius is also timelines, and the shift of timelines, right? So maybe there will be that, I think there will be a lower timeline where the DigiBean says, stick the bugs up the arse. Yeah, I think there will be a lower timeline where all these things will manifest, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys. I'm sure most of you guys are on the same page, and I know Astrid is on the same page as me. We are saying no to that.
No.
We will not accept these things. Right?
And like, I just wanted to mention this because even though if the pandemic treaty gets approved in the next cycle, in the next 10 months, then we also know in a few years, Saturn and Jupiter will make their opposition in the chart, and then it could very well be like,
right,
being cancelled. So it's like keeping up the faith, because Saturn, that is our boundaries and our limitations, and Jupiter are our long-held beliefs, our idealism, our faith, and we can see this transit as like being constantly hope, doubt, in the next year. It's like really riding the waves on a personal level, and being, I think a lot of bipolar issues and mental health issues are going to come forward as well because of this constant shift of seesaw energy. But I think it's very important to persevere and like keep up the faith and hope. And if you feel pessimistic, just know that it's this aspect making you feel like this, and this too shall pass.
Such a good point. I was thinking about that the other day, but I didn't even think about that to bring it up now. Such a good point that Saturn can be heaviness, depression, even anxiety, like no hope. Saturn can be no hope at times. And then Jupiter is the opposite. Yay, freedom, expansion, hope, faith, it's all good. So yeah, there can be, with this square that we're going to be in for the next 10 months, like Astrid is saying, flip-flops between the two. Right. So really important for us to be aware. Anything else you want to share, Astrid, on the Jupiter square Saturn? No? So last main thing we want to finish up or talk about in today's video, I'm having such a hard time with my words with this Mercury retrograde. Is the September 17th. Well, September 17th, 18th, depending on where you are in the world, eclipse. full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. Do you want to bring us into this event, Astrid? What's this all about?
Well, first of all, let me take a look. Yeah, so the moon is at 25 degrees. So that is like an Aries degree. So it's gonna be feisty for sure. And although lunar eclipses are more relationship oriented than solar eclipses, they certainly do not always represent relationships between two people. It can also be like the relationship with your body, because Pisces Virgo is the health disease axis, and that is really gonna come forward from September on. And as we can see, the eclipse is close by Saturn, conjunct Neptune, and I really feel like this is going to be a little bit the kickoff energy of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we're going to see in 26, which we're going to make a whole video about that as well, because that is going to be very, very big. But now for September, it's really about the Virgo ruled and Pisces ruled areas of your life. So you need to check your personal horoscope to see which houses it affects you. But it goes about physical and mental health. And also note that this is the first eclipse of a set that is coming, an eclipse set for the next couple of years. So we also know that when an eclipse aspected Pluto Saturn conjunction in 2020, then Corona started afterwards. So not want to cause fear or anything, but I feel like, Pisces can be very spiritually aligned, but it can go very quick to madness and confusion and not seeing through the fog anymore. So you will see people get very idealistic during this eclipse, and then others who are going to feel lost in a kind of daze and don't know what they're looking or saying because their view is eclipsed, actually. So especially for Pisces, that can be a harder transit than for other signs, a harder eclipse. But if you look back to 1997 and 2016, we had an eclipse happening in Pisces as well. So if you had certain themes coming up in your astrological houses around that time, it's like good to look back on that to have an idea of how this energy is going to manifest in your life around this time. So I said two important eclipses are going to come up. The first one is now, and the second one is actually March 14th. So this one is conjunct Neptune. That is going to, really highlight the disease and your health and your routine, and what are you doing to like strengthen your immune system. That's gonna be a big theme happening from September. And if you look at March 14th next year, then that eclipse will opposite the Saturn and Neptune conjunction. So it's going to go back and forward. And like, if we see that the conjunction between Neptune and Saturn are very much linked to diseases like the Spanish flu, real pandemics. So I don't want to scare you guys, but like, it's a wake-up call to start working on your immune system, your health. And I'm not like trying to, like, it doesn't matter if you took certain medical procedures a few years ago or not, because it's going to affect everyone, and everyone needs to strengthen their immune system. But those who did really need to wake up and look for ways to like get rid of all the toxins. And if you see what happened in 1918 when we had a certain the same things happening like now, that we had the Spanish flu, then like now it's a wake-up call to like take preventive medicine and really build your strength before 26, because otherwise it could get out of hand. I'm just gonna like be plain honest. I don't know if you like want to add something about this, Meg, but I just like really hope not every Neptune Saturn conjunction with eclipses have these real pandemics, but the chance is there, and let's just hope that it's going to be milder than what we've seen in the past, actually. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think it's not fun to say to people, and let me know what you think, Astrid. I think the whole next, starting with this eclipse, okay, well, even since Saturn has been in Pisces, because Pisces has to do with the immune system, our immune systems are low. And that is going to get more and more intense, as Astrid was saying, that Saturn Neptune start to come close into conjunction, which when is it that it's March, isn't it? We looked at that before. Isn't it March 2025 when they start to get into a strong orb with each other? Saturn and
yeah,
Neptune.
yeah, next year in March, we also have the North Node that's going to conjunct Neptune. And I think Neptune and Saturn are going to be 4 or 6 degrees apart. So when they're closer than 10, some already consider it conjunction. For me, it needs to be more exact. But if they are perfect at 0 degrees by February 2026. But in the beginning of 25, with the North Node already on Neptune, it's going to give us a very big preview of what's to come in the year ahead. So I'm going to be honest, it's not going to be pretty. And I think it's very important to take preventive medicine right now. And like, if you want to know where you need to put your focus, because we can see it in the chart, the sixth house, which sign rules the cusp, Meg and I can really help you what needs to be targeted or what needs to be worked on right now, because I think that will be the main theme of the next 2-3 years coming, actually. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I'm going to be doing my first live astrology presentation in September in Canada. And I guess I'll give something away right now. It's going to be mostly all about this Saturn Neptune conjunction, these eclipses in Virgo and Pisces. Get your shit together with your health. Okay, this feels like very important, us needing to say this in our intense Scorpio Aries way right now, because this is something that some astrologers won't tell you because they want to give you all the light and they want to sound positive. Blah, blah. We are about to watch a shit show with people's health, people that have not been taking care of their health. Once these eclipses move into the axis of Pisces and Virgo, and then we have the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Pisces and Aries, it's going to be exact in Aries, but they'll be almost conjunct in Pisces. Our immune systems are not as strong. It's medical astrology. It's not us being negative. Our immune systems are not as strong. There is likely to be some sort of real health issue. So whether that is a, pandemic or we already have one going on.
yeah.
We already have a mental health crisis. We already have people that have gotten what's that, okay, what's going to happen once that's reached the 5-year mark in 2026, right? So there's already maybe it won't necessarily be something real, maybe it will be something real, but being preventative, like Astrid said, with your health I think that's one of the greatest advices that we can give you in this video today. And I'm also saying that to myself when I say that, because it's not easy during these times to, eat really well, do your grounding, do your exercise every day, because it's like tiring these energies right now. And sometimes you just want to eat a pizza and just not go for a walk. But I promise you guys, if you do exercise, if you do take good supplements, if you do whatever resonates for your health, you're going to be thanking Astrid and I a year from now when you see what's going on with some other people, right? So very, very important. Jenny says, we've been poisoned from every angle. Everyone's not going to drop dead one day. They are dropping one by one over the course of the past few years. Get healthy ASAP. You are right on, Jenny, right on. We have been poisoned by every angle. And as the vibrations are, getting higher and higher as we're going into a light age of Aquarius, we are detoxing from that. And if you don't embrace the detox, there's also that element of it too. You can have a healing crisis. You can have a detox crisis. So, Astrid, is my soul sister. She's one of my closest friends. And I hope you don't mind me saying, Astrid, that you have gone through a very intense health struggle in your life. And you went through that. We don't have to go really in depth, but you went through if you don't want to, I mean, if you want to, you can.
No, it's okay.
You went through something very intense. You could have crawled into a hole and died, right? But you took initiative and you did something that wasn't easy and you healed yourself. And now you're here with us sharing the astrology, sharing the photography. I'm just having chills. I'm feeling channeled. Like, is there anything you want to share on that journey for anybody watching that might learn of major health issues that they have, or might realize that they have to do a major cleanse? How do you go through something like that? And we're not saying everyone's going to get sick and die. No, but we're going to, some people really go through some intense health issues.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I'm going to mention that like in my sixth house of health and service to other and work, that's my Pisces house. And I have 4 planets in Pisces. So I actually have a stellium in my sixth house. Other than that, I'm a Virgo rising. So Mercury is my chart ruler. Mercury is in my sixth house of health. So on top of that, I have Chiron on the rising, and now I'm like sharing a lot of personal stuff, but it's just like not to freak you out, but to show you how real astrology is. And like I always knew, like it was integrated in my blueprint. It was decided before I was born here that I was gonna go through this very, very intense process of like having to come to terms and to understanding that like life is not forever, and it's like something I learned from a very young age, and I've like missed out on a lot of stuff, but it really, really teach me a lot as well. If I hadn't gone through this very intense health scare that I faced, I would have never started doing astrology, because like, I'm going to be honest, I was in my bed for like 2 years straight. And that is the moment that I started to take my mother seriously and started listening to her and the astrology, because she was teaching me since a child. But then I really like had to, because I couldn't move, so I had to do something to keep myself sane, actually, Pisces. And it taught me to like, if you dive deep into your wounds, if you dive deep into your passions, what I did around that time, I really started studying astrology and became very good in it, because I had this ocean of time to like really dive deep into it. So I actually learned a lot from it, but I really suggest that you do everything to like make sure you don't need to go through that stuff, because I lost a lot of friends, but I gained very good new ones after that. So it really completely shifted my life, but it really taught me the importance of like having to detox, of having to like, you can have 1 million or $1 billion in your bank account if you're like laying in your bed. So that's like a big lesson that taught me like money is easy, but it doesn't make happy. As long as you have your health in order and you have these two, you can do anything. So if you don't have that in order, like your whole life is a mess, and it's very hard to fix then. So if you want to have some advice about how to detox or how to prevent or like how to put your body back in balance, is it spiritually, mentally, or physically? Meg and I can really, really help you because of the process we actually went through when we were younger. So it's good to be able to help other people with it now. So I wouldn't want to change it for the world, actually.
Yeah. And I feel so proud of you, Astrid, when you're sharing that, because that I know some more than some of the people listening of what you had to go through. And that was not easy shit. And you rose above those flames. And now look at you. You're sharing your astrology. You're sharing all your beautiful creative gifts. And you are, like someone said in the chat, the wounded healer. And that's the most powerful kind of wounded. That's the most powerful healer, Digi Bean 16 says. So that's what we're all those of us in this like-minded community, we are the wounded healers. We all have been poisoned by every angle, and we can choose to not take responsibility and just go, fuck it, I don't even want to be alive. I'm just going to curl in a ball. Or go, you know what? No, our bodies are magical machines, magical divine temples that know how to heal themselves when we do certain natural processes. So maybe that's a whole other video we need to do, Astrid, on some medical astrology and things like that. But please, please listen to us. Take care of your health. And all of our bodies are different. Do what resonates with you. Talk to some, this is an amazing time to get to know a homeopath, get to know a naturopath, get to know a real deal energy healer, and you'll be thanking us later for that. Okay. Anything else on the eclipse that you want to bring up, Astrid?
Not really.
We're going to talk about it more. We'll probably do a whole video on the eclipse.
Yeah, and then the second eclipse, and then the second eclipse in March, because they're linked to each other, and I think it will be good to dive a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah. So great. So before we finish up, we wrote in our notes here, remedies for bad aspects or transits. I think we just said it. I think your health, Lakeside Laura, health is wealth is no joke. That is no joke.
Exactly.
And that's something, and it's funny, we're talking about it during this retrograde city with Mercury currently in Virgo retrograde, and we're like harping on the health. Your health is your wealth. You can work all day long. You could have millions of dollars, but if you don't have your health, it's nothing, right? This is a temporary experience in these beautiful bodies. So drinking good water, eating good food, spending as much time in nature as possible, doing things that uplift your energy, right? Leo, fun, play, dance, sing, silliness. That's also good. That's also important for our health.
Yeah. Choose yourself. Dare to say no. If something costs you energy, just put it in the garbage bin. It doesn't belong to you. We are here to have fun, enjoy life, be here in this beautiful earth, connect to her, and take care of ourselves and Mother Earth. And actually, that's the only thing we're that we have to do here. All the other things the government puts on our shoulders, that's just bullshit, to be honest. We're just here actually to be happy and to care for each other and make each other feel seen and loved. And if people don't reciprocate the energy, it's time for them to go. And that will be a very big major aspect with these eclipses coming up as well. Things that are not healthy anymore. People, work, jobs, they need to go. Your energy is most important.
Very well said. Awesome. And if you guys would like to have a personal astrology reading with Astrid, the amazing, amazing Astrid, you can go over to her link tree, which is at the link in her bio, the URL on her Instagram, Astrid Dumoulin. The link tree is linktr.ee/Astrid Dumoulin. So you can go check that out there and book a personal reading with her on her calendar system. Also want to mention, you guys, that LEVY currently has her chakra healing course 50% off on the Beyond Mystic Academy until August 15th. You can use code CHAKRA50, all in one word, to go check that out, to balance your chakras, learn about your chakras. And if you'd like to have a personal astrology reading with me, that's available at consultations.beyondmystic.net. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And thank you guys so much for joining us live, or if you're watching the replay. We love you all very, very much. We are in very intense astrological times, to say the least, but we are going to get through it. We are going to be those wounded healers and rise through it. So we love you guys so much, and we will see you for the next Astro Deep Dive to talk about Pluto going back into Capricorn. Going to be an intense one. Okay, love you guys. Thank you, Astrid. Love you.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.